So when we come back, we are going to switch gears and do the Paralogian report for a little while. There's some interesting stuff we want to share with you and all that.
So you are listening to Paraversal Universe. Stay with us, and we will be right back for the next hour after this break.
NPR podcasts are now available on every platform. Check out all our shows at npr.org/podcasts. That's npr.org/podcasts.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lori London. The Trump administration is keeping up the pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro to cede power. NPR's Michelle Kellerman tells us the U.S. is imposing more sanctions and revoking the visas of officials close to the embattled leader.
The latest sanctions target security officials who helped Nicolas Maduro block U.S. assistance. U.S. envoy Elliot Abrams says the State Department is also revoking visas for dozens of Maduro's supporters and their family members.
We continue to look at close associates of Maduro, who, with their families, have visas to the United States. This is an ongoing process.
The U.S. backs National Assembly President Juan Guaido and is urging more countries to recognize him as interim president. Abrams says he's concerned about Guaido's ability to return to Venezuela from his current trip through the region. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State Department.
The ride-hailing service Lyft has released its financial details about the company as it prepares to begin selling its stock to the public. NPR's Camille Dominowski reports.
As part of Lyft's IPO, some shares will be made available for purchase by drivers, and Lyft is also offering its most prolific drivers a one-time cash bonus as high as $10,000. The new documents reveal Lyft has more than 10 million active riders, and revenue increased sixfold over the last 3 years. The company says it sees significantly more growth in its future. However, Lyft is not making a profit. In fact, it's losing money year after year, and the company acknowledges it faces intense competition, most notably from its larger rival Uber. Uber is also preparing to go public, but it hasn't yet filed the paperwork that Lyft just submitted. Camila Dominowski, NPR News.
Israel's attorney general says he's preparing to indict Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on corruption charges. NPR's Daniel Estrin explains the accusations.
He's accused in 3 separate cases. The Attorney General has put out very detailed allegations. They boil down to Netanyahu's dealings with businessmen and his alleged efforts to control press coverage. The most serious allegation is that Netanyahu used his authority to approve regulations and business deals that allegedly netted close to $500 million for a businessman. And in exchange, Netanyahu got to dictate positive coverage about himself in the businessman's news website.
Netanyahu has furiously denied the charges, blaming leftists and the Israeli Justice Department for concocting a false plot. On Wall Street, stocks rose to end the week on a high note. The Dow gained 111 points. This is NPR News. The man who has overseen the creation of some of HBO's biggest hits is stepping down after nearly 30 years. As NPR's Andrew Limbong reports, CEO Richard Plepler's resignation comes just months after the telecom giant AT&T merged with Time Warner.
Bring me his head.
Game of Thrones, Girls, True Detective, just some of the hit shows HBO put out after Richard Plepler became co-president in 2007. In a letter to HBO staff, Plepler wrote that leaving HBO was trusting his instincts and, quote, "I can move on to the next chapter of my life, knowing that the best team in the industry remains here to carry on our continued progress and success." His departure comes at a pivotal time for HBO. It's expected to face legal issues over the big Michael Jackson documentary airing this weekend. It's been less than a year since AT&T became the channel's new owner, and it's facing more competition from streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon. Andrew Limbong, NPR News.
Southwest Airlines is suing its mechanics union, alleging some workers are pulling planes out of service for minor mechanical issues simply to gain leverage in contract talks. The filing in federal district court in Dallas claims an illegal work slowdown is grounding planes and disrupting flights. More than 6 years of fruitless contract negotiations have created bitter feelings on both sides. I'm Lori London, NPR News in Washington.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Paraversal Universe on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. Also heard on the Rift Radio Network out of Lakeside, Virginia, WCET-FM and affiliates out of Columbia, South Carolina, and on Amelia Pisano Productions Radio Network out of Toronto, Canada. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malik, coming to you from the still frozen tundra of northern Wisconsin, here at the Northwoods Paranormal Resource Center in Rylander. You can always enjoy excellent fringe talk radio information about the paranormal, supernatural, esoteric, and Fortean topics on our network and affiliate platform websites. Not only our show, but many other good shows about different facets of the unknown and unexplained. Much to listen to and much to enjoy. In this hour, we will switch gears and go to the Paralogian Report format with correspondents that are joining us now. Psychologist and ufologist Jean Breida and Paralogian and radio personality Kat Hobson. How are you ladies doing?
Doing great.
Well.
And this segment is brought to you by the Supernatural Magazine, where our articles can be read, and by the Daily Conspiracy and Lightworker 111, correct? Where Jean Breida's articles can be read. All right, back to Paraversal Universe and the Paralogian Report, which, as I said, covers news and history and analysis about topics from the fringe recesses of the world, be it paranormal, supernatural, forteric, or esoteric. And so Jean can start us off. She's brought an article to the table. How are you, Jean? How's it going?
Well, as I said before, I'm fine as frog's hair and so happy to be amongst us again. And a big shout out to our listeners who are awesome.
Yes.
My article today is one I actually wrote and was published recently on thedailyconspiracy.com. In fact, today It appeared. It's today's headliner. Being odd is the new mental illness is the title. And here we go. This is somewhat alarming, so fasten your seatbelts.
What?
Did you know that the main professional organization of psychiatrists has declared that arrogance, narcissism, above average creativity, cynicism, and antisocial behavior are all now newly declared by them mental diseases? The American Psychiatric Association, APA, has taken upon itself the task of classifying mental disorders. Their Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM, is the standard for the medical profession and, quote, is used or relied upon by clinicians, researchers, psychiatric drug regulation agencies, health insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, the legal system, and policymakers, unquote. One big problem with classifying personality traits as mental illness is that the person's legal status changes dramatically. Civil privileges, such as driving, can be restricted or revoked. Someone diagnosed with a behavior might well be forced into a treatment institution with no right to check out without the official approval of others. The prospect of having to prove you're not crazy after a medical categorization is not a pleasant one. a highly talented artist might create great work that expressed a satiric point of view or one contrary to the official government narrative. Under the new mental illness system, such a person has a disease. Think about that for a minute. Now add to the list of arrogant, narcissistic, unusually creative, cynical, and antisocial mental misfits a brand new made-up disease that will surely threaten many outspoken victims' freedoms. You've got to hand it to the shrinks who came up with this insidious mental illness. Oops, there I go, being all cynical again. Judge for yourself. Oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD, ODD, is, quote, ongoing pattern of disobedient, hostile, and defiant behavior, unquote. Symptoms that you are in an odd way include questioning authority. My bracketed comment, are they serious? Number 2, negativity. Ditto. Defiance. My comments, ditto, ditto. Argumentativeness and being easily annoyed. My comment, triple ditto. The DSM, that manual of standards, medical standards for diagnosis, spells out how many of the disease symptoms must be present as identified by the APA-approved diagnosing doctor to make a positive diagnosis of a mental illness. The APA must be counting on the fact that many people have never heard of DSM-4, Roman numeral 4, where ODD made its first official appearance. It doesn't take that much smarts to figure out that the psychiatric elite are changing the game through legal means to allow the arbitrary diagnosis of anyone who mouths off or dissents. It doesn't take any smarts at all to know that extremely creative people are not mentally ill. What gives these medical professionals the right to say they are right and the rest of us are wrong? Medical doctors are in the business of diagnosing, treating, and curing diseases. Having created a whole new billing category for ODD cases, these physicians, sworn to the Hippocratic Oath, offer treatment. Is that surprising? Does Big Pharma have a hand in this new medical business? Of course they do. Quote, when the last edition of the DSM-4 was published, identifying the symptoms of various illness in children, there was a jump in the medication for children. Some states even have laws that allow protective agencies to forcibly medicate and even make it a punishable crime to withhold a prescribed medication. And now there's an even newer version of this thing, DSM-5. It's called the Psychiatrist Bible. I'm skipping here a little bit for the sake of the brevity of our show. But published in May 2013, version 5, new and improved, continues, quote, determining insurance benefits and disability. So this is defining the legal insurance category of disability and those payouts. It affects the availability of special education and social services and is a staple in court proceedings. So one guy dissented, one psychiatrist employed at the National Institute of Mental Health wrote that he had questions basically about this approach and that he would like to see other factors like genetic markers and biometrics and other things factored in when diagnosing mental illness. And his organization, in collusion with the APA, forced him to retract in writing 2 weeks later. It took him 2 weeks to jump on this guy and get him to do a 180, in his opinion. So that same guy's name's Incel was probably pink-slipped after this incident, but not before he could contribute this complete assurance that no one need question the authority of the APA or its DMS because the National Institute of Mental Health, quote, has not changed its position on DSM-5. And In the past 50 years, the DSM has gone from listing 130 to 374 mental illnesses.